Hello. I'm not particularly used to filming videos of myself speaking, so this is going to be an interesting experience. This is my first YouTube video, and to be honest, I'm kind of 50-50 about whether or not I'll be making another one. I guess we'll have to see. Well, at present, this might end up with me just speaking into the void, or it might indeed be picked up by the algorithm and go somewhere. We don't know that yet, and frankly, I don't care. I just feel like the situation that I have seen erupt in America, a country which I am not from, probably tell by my accent, has been so disturbing to watch that I felt like I had to say something. Now, for a little bit of background, I'm not a particularly political person. I've never been that politically active. Of course, I have my views. And when it comes to American politics in particular, I'm just not that involved at all. I'm somebody who grew up in South Africa and has been living in the UK for the past 16 years. So when it comes to having no dog in this fight or no horse in this race, as it were, I'm about as clear an example as they come. But I am somebody that values, and thinks I value at least, common decency and integrity. And I'm also somebody who was gravely disturbed by the murder of Charlie Kirk. There are some images that you can never unsee, and the image of that young man being shot in the neck on stage in front of thousands of people, including his own family, is an image that I will sadly never unsee. But perhaps it is important that I and others saw it because it serves as a sobering reminder of just how dangerously on the precipice of something wicked America is at present. When politics is degenerated to such an extent that people are not only willing to murder their political opponents, but will celebrate with glee mere minutes and hours after their demise, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to remember that there was a time, not so long ago, where we valued common decency, where we looked down upon those who danced with delirious glee at the downfall of another, regardless of what their political opinions were. It has become apparent to me that either one side or both, but I think in this case it is one side, has served to push the narrative and the discourse in a dangerous direction that has evidently become untenable. And I think we all know who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about all liberals. I'm not even talking about all people on the left. But there is certainly a minority of hardcore radicals on the left who love violence. They want it. They've made this clear. If you've listened to streamers over the years who are on the left and you've listened to their audiences and you've trawled through their comment sections, it becomes apparent that these people glorify violence when it happens on the right. When you observe demonstrations, as we all have, on college campuses in America with Antifa, where they'll rock up and they'll hit people in the head with lead pipes and they'll pull fire alarms, it's fairly apparent that these people, at least the small minority of them that engage in this political violence, have no interest in discourse and haven't for some time. And that raises an interesting question. The question effectively becomes, well, what do we do in such circumstances if you can't speak, and if worse still, speaking, if reaching out a hand in solidarity, as Charlie did, earns you a bullet in the neck in front of your family, then what is one to do? What are we to do? And that's the question that I found very troubling over the last 72 hours, aside from just being saddened by the knowledge that this man has left a hole in the lives of so many loved ones. A wife now no longer has a husband, and children no longer have a father. Parents no longer have a son. And that is something that should sadden everyone. Aside from just being saddened by that, I've been left with this thought swimming aimlessly in my head, but swimming nonetheless, and repeatedly, which is, what do we do with the radicals? Now, there has, of course, been a spate of firings, as I'm sure many people are aware, as a direct result of the people who have been celebrating rather openly and gleefully online. And some people have rushed to point out that this is in some way a violation of these people's free speech. And to those people, I'd like to remind them that, first of all, it wasn't very long ago that it was the right that was complaining about their free speech being trampled upon, and your side of the aisle laughed at them. And the circumstances, I must remind everyone, are also very different. The right has not terminated their access to the online discourse. It has not told them that they now no longer have access to the public square. It has merely reported them to their employers, and their employers have taken the action that they saw fit. And frankly, I think that's a justifiable and valid move on the part of the employer. If you have demonstrated that you have an ill conscience and are perfectly willing to do something that many of us, if not most of us, I would like to think, view as immoral, blatantly immoral, and outside of the purview of what we would all consider to be basic, normal, common decency, then perhaps some consequence, like losing your job, is called for. Now, when this was happening to the right, on the other hand, we must remember that it wasn't just a simple case of people being fired from their jobs. Of course, that happened, but they were banned outright in many cases from the online discourse. And I think it's also important to bear in mind that not only were their voices banned from any online dispensation on platforms such as Twitter, where many of them were blocked and had their account access revoked, but they also lost their jobs, their livelihoods, and for something far less egregious, may I remind you, than calling for the deaths of other people and laughing gleefully when those people do indeed meet their deaths. To do something like that and then compare the right to the snowflakery that we saw from the left a few years ago is not just a false equivalence, it also reveals blatant hypocrisy. And may I remind you as well, if you want to turn this into a free speech issue, that Charlie Kirk lost his life for the free speech that you are now attempting to hide behind. And I find that despicable. I'll probably have more to say at a later date, but for now, I think that I've probably said everything I have to say.